So without taking further time, we would like to start the proceedings, and the next panel session is on a very interesting subject on functional foods, benefits, concerns, and challenges. Now, throughout the day, we have been hearing on food fortification, we have been hearing on food testing, nutraceuticals, and now something equally relevant and very important in the whole gist of the two-day India Food Nutrition Summit on functional foods, which are gaining massive popularity, not only in our country, but worldwide. So to talk on this particular panel, I would like to first highlight few points of discussion that would be taken care by the honorable panel members. Functional foods in improving the health and enriching life, how to make the functional foods impressive and inexpensive at the same time, functional food shifting the healthcare paradigm in India, the health safety concerns also with functional foods, and how to determine the intake level necessary to achieve the desired results, and many more. So now, with big round of applause, I would like to invite all of our honorable panel members in the order of sequence. Dr. R. Manickavasagam, Vice President, EnNutrica. Can we have a big round of applause for Dr. Manickavasagam? Doctor, welcome to the India Food Nutrition Summit and Awards. Always a pleasure to have you. Joining him, our next panel member, Mr. Rajesh Gupta, DGM from Jubilant Foods. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Gupta? Mr. Gupta, welcome to the India Food Nutrition Summit and Awards. Joining them, I would like to call on stage with a big round of applause, Mr. Shailesh Ghodekar, Head Quality Assurance, Marico. Can we have Shailesh with a big round of applause? Shailesh ji, welcome to the India Food Nutrition Summit. Always a pleasure to have you. Joining them, Mr. Puneet Goyal, CEO of AP Organics Limited. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Goyal? Mr. Goyal, welcome to the India Food Nutrition Summit and Awards. Joining them, Mr. Jagdish Pant, General Manager Quality Assurance, Olive Lifesciences Private Limited. A big round of applause for Mr. Pant. Mr. Pant, welcome to the India Food Nutrition Summit and Awards. And now I would like to call on stage our honorable moderator for the panel, Ms. Kavita, Jadhav, Head New Product Development from Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Food and Nutraceuticals. Kavita ji, welcome to the India Food Nutrition Summit and Awards. So wonderful panel of experts, and I'm sure it's going to be an exciting 60 minutes ahead for us in this session. A lot of learnings. So Kavita ji, moderator of the panel, captain of the ship, I leave it all up to you, and I'm looking forward to a great panel session.
I hope everyone is awake. I know since morning it must be heavy sessions for every one of us. And this is the last panel. First of all, thanks to all the organizers for arranging such a nice forum where all brains you have brought together to discuss on such a complex but at the same time the need of an hour. So this discussion is most important, especially after this pandemic era. Thanks to the wonderful audience, and I was not expecting this much audience. We thought it's the last session, but I could see the house is full. So thanks for that. Thanks for being patient since morning, and I hope this session will be also informative for you. Next, thanks to my all panel members here. All the way, we all have traveled from long distance, early morning, and we are here. So thanks to each one of you to be here for this particular session. The topic given to us is functional food, benefits, concerns, and challenge. Since morning, we keep hearing this, that there is a change in the title of the regulation. FSS, health supplement, nutraceutical, FSDU, FSMP, FSMP and this functional foods and novel foods. So now they removed functional food and novel foods and replaced with the prebiotic and probiotic. So is this topic is still valid for the discussion? So that is the first question. Yes, this topic is still valid for this discussion because functional food is nothing but the bucket of health food, that is your health supplement, nutraceutical, FSMP, FSDU, and all your pre and probiotics. So since morning we keep hearing that what is the importance, how that has made the changes in our life, etc., etc. And now, post the pandemic, if you see that everyone, like the consumer preferences, has that big shift towards the preventive healthcare options. So being an industry people, being a formulator, being an industrialist, ingredient supplier, manufacturer, marketeer, and policymaker, government organizations, regulators, are we really ready for the consumer need, to cater those consumer needs? Because after a pandemic, everyone is aware on their health, they become more conscious, health conscious, we keep taking health supplements. Even a small school-going kids now aware on the vitamin C and vitamin D mentioned on their chips packets. So your consumers are getting ready, but are we really ready to cater their needs, to fulfill their need gaps? So today's discussion is all about that. So instead of having functional foods, benefits, concerns, and challenge, let us have a discussion on the full bucket of health supplement, nutraceutical, FSDU, FSMP, pre and probiotic food, benefits, concerns, and challenges. So to start with that particular topic, I would like to start this session first with Mr. Manickavasagam. So sir, it has been proven, though there are a lot of scientific substantial data is still missing, some under consideration, some under development, lot of clinical researches is going on. So what is your take on these categories, improving the health and enriching the life? Do you really think so? This is the right statement for this category of the product, or it is just the puffery stuff created by the industrialists, by the marketeers? So today I think the audience needs that answer from the experts like all of us. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, and thanks for being giving an opportunity to be here. The functional foods, before getting into the technical parts, first the industry is enriched in a very good way. As per the data of 2020, the functional foods and nutraceuticals on all put together, it is coming around $550 billion. The global market is 550, and with that a major chunk is going to the Asia Pacific. So India stands on the 4th place in the Asia Pacific on the growth of this. This is a one potential thing which I want to give to you peoples, where the functional foods and nutraceuticals or any medicinal part, anything it can be, comes under one, as you rightly said, is in a basket. Today the question is, today's discussion is highly valid because functional foods are no more being categorized as just as a macro or micro nutrients which is having in it out. It is all depends upon how it is physiologically get into the body activity. That is a major question has been raised, and scientifically people have started to work on that. And functional foods should be taken along with the diets or as a diet. It should not be like a capsules. It's a part of derivation, I'm just telling. It is not a capsules or it is not a powder. It should definitely take part in the biological immune systems, which we have been adding as we can call as a functional foods. And rightly told, it has to involve in the preventive of diseases and recovery of, after the recovery of diseases, the body has to come back to its original position. These are the ways where it has to be fall into the category. And if you ask whether this is it is a valid or not, in Tamil, in agriculture, there is an old variety of paddy is there. It is called Karuppu Gavani. I don't know what is in the botanic, I forgot the botanical name. It is having the highest indigestible or undigestible fiber, which has been widely used in those days for the kings. And now it has been transferred as a functional foods. So the terminology might be changed, but the functional foods is having its own values in our systems. And rightly in the previous panel, they have told about the fortification and other things. Similarly, these functional foods or nutraceuticals all is in a single baskets, which will deliver the most of the benefits to the humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So do you really think there's different formats? Because there are formats like capsule, tablets, gummies, chewable tablets, non-chewable tablets, then your RTDs, RTEs, powders, sprinklers.
Yeah.
So all these categories, do you think we as an industry today, we are ready to cater these needs of our consumer? What is your take on it?
See, the consumers is changing according to the world markets, and they have been exposing to the things. And there we have to divide now it is as a post-COVID and pre-COVID. What has happened after this virus has been gone through over the global, people wants to think about how it is going to be benefit me in all the ways. If they are consuming, is going to be a ready to eat, or it is going to be a nutraceutical, or it is going to be a capsules, which is going to give a benefit to them, is rightly on what dosages has to be taken. All these things people have started to look into that, and definitely it is going to be benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for that. Okay, next question to Puneet. Puneet, there is very thin line between nutraceutical is defined in a layman language as a food which serve as a medicine. But there is very, very thin line between food and medicine as far as nutraceutical is concerned. More or less, pharmaceutical industry thinks going forward, maybe the future of Nutra is, again, it will merge into pharma. So what is your take? Means what is your inputs? Can you please elaborate this term? Food can be a medicine or medicine can be a food?
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Like this quote of Hippocrates, who was also called as the father of medicine, let food thy be medicine, and let medicine thy be food. So it is now running around the corners in today's world, especially in India, where people are very health conscious nowadays. I'd like to take you back to some decades back when there were good old times. So whenever someone used to get ill, he or she used to try home remedies, or I shall say maybe Dadi Ma ya Nani Ma ke nuske. So what was that? That was like if someone has some body ache, turmeric milk was given to them. If someone had some gastro problems, so ajwain water was given to them. And these used to benefit people. There was very limited need to go to doctors for small problems. Yes, for bigger problems, there is obviously a need, but for smaller problems, the things used to get resolved using these Dadi Nani Ma ke nuske. So, what were these special foods which were given? These only, as sir said, terminology might be changing. These are now what we are calling novel foods or functional foods. So, previously, dietitians used to focus more on giving a balanced diet, a balanced approach in which they gave nutritional value to the people through the diet and reduced negative elements which they call like sodium or maybe excess cholesterol or excess fat. But now that trend has also changed. With people being exposed more to COVID and more to how the global world is changing, the dietitians have changed the trend. Now they are focusing on an optimum diet and adding on ingredients to them like functional foods or nutraceuticals which prevent people from diseases or which add some wellness to their lifestyle. So in simpler words, if I would have to say, like you talked about pharmaceuticals or medicines, if your diet is not correct, no medicine will work. And if your diet is correct, no medicine is needed at all. So if I would have to give you some examples, maybe as preventive sir said for functional foods, some common problems which people face are cardio or heart problems. So if in the diet we incorporate proper things, proper functional foods like garlic or maybe flax seeds or maybe some other omega-3 components like fish or maybe new nutrient coming nowadays, gamma oryzanol, so then those problems are prevented to a large extent. Or if we built like immunity in these days using your citrus fruits, oranges, or maybe lemon, then the problems don't occur. Or if we say cancer, like cancer is coming nowadays in big quantities, we are seeing a lot of people suffering from cancer. If people incorporate things like tomato, which have lycopene in them, which is a functional food, then those problems can be prevented to some extent. So in my view, the trend which is changing is towards more of a nutraceutical which can replace medicines in the coming days. So doctors in the coming days would be like, there would be no doctors who would treat patients using drugs, but the doctors may be there who would change your lifestyle and add functional foods or nutraceuticals in your diet and then avoid problems to you and treat you. So this combination is going to come in the coming days. If also I talk about a recent article I read with respect to American Dietitian Organization. So what they said was that if we incorporate whole food grains in our diet to the extent of 50%, so the life expectancy increases. Now from whole food grains, if I talk about, the first thing that comes to my mind is brown rice. People nowadays, instead of white rice, they are focusing more on brown rice. The reason? Because it has a lot of antioxidants which include your gamma-oryzanol, your ferulic acid, your phytosterols, and the most powerful of them, gamma-oryzanol, which is very prevalent even in Japan, where the life expectancy is the highest. So these things which when we add to our diet, they not only prevent us from diseases like of cholesterol or blood pressure or sugar, but provide a wholesome, free lifestyle to us. So that is what I think, that it will not merge in pharma, but the pharma trend will change so that the nutraceuticals or the diet will become part of lifestyle, which will benefit everyone.
Agree. Maybe we can ask our, in our Q&A session, we'll take more inputs from the audience also. So next, we can come to a point where whole farm to fork concept. So being a developers, being a formulators, being a manufacturer, are we really have those ingredient suppliers which is giving quality, efficacious, and the safety-wise prominent ingredients to us, especially the milk and milk proteins? So all those contaminants, heavy metal pesticides, how much is the load present in existing ingredients? For that matter, skim milk powder, whole milk powder, WPC, WPI, caseinates. So are we really aware on all this? So that is also a point to be think of. Next is, when the formula is been formulated, do we really have that infrastructure, that ecosystem in India? Because every now and then we say we can see some new startup in India. Everybody is opening something new, some new innovative ideas. But how to scale up those ideas? So do we really have those infrastructure? Is that something is really missing? Public, private sector has to come ahead. They have to form some model, or maybe policymakers have to make something. So all these things are really required. Once the manufacturing is done, how about the sensorials? Because we easily say that nutraceutical is food which serve as a medicine, but it should not taste like a medicine. It should be palatable, it should be tasty, my product should be repurchasable, and at the same time, manufacturer will see how much is my gross margin. So it has to be a cost effective also. So linked to this, I would like to ask next question to Shailesh sir, ki from the quality perspective, how do you see this whole perspective from this whole value chain?
Thanks, Kavita. I think very important to understand is, and I am sure everyone would have, if you refresh your memory, how quality has evolved. I think once upon a time we were talking of a manufacturing quality. Now what was that manufacturing quality? Let's take an example of our oil. So in a edible oil, what was very important, we were only checking the PV, FFA, acid value, and so on. Or in terms of a packaging, the dimensions of the pack. So that was called as a manufacturing quality, but how it has moved from a manufacturing quality, as the consumer expectations were changing, market dynamics were changing, it moved to a consumer quality. So what's the consumer quality? Let's take the same example. Today, when the consumer takes the oil, when the housewife sees the oil, she's not bothered about that AV, PVs and IVs. What she's bothered about, how the color of the oil, the smell of the oil, when we fry the oil, when we taste the oil, and that's called as the consumer quality. Also in terms of her packaging, she's not bothered about the dimensions of the packaging or the color of the packaging. She's bothered whether the packaging is user-friendly. Can I open it? Can I pour it without wasting a single drop of the oil? So this movement happened from a manufacturing quality to a consumer quality. And next, today what we are witnessing is, again, as the consumer expectations are evolving, consumers are expecting a in-use quality. So what is in-use quality? And this is the latest what consumers are expecting. The same example of oil. When I take the oil, I take it on the day one. I get that certain sensorial, taste, frying, and everything. And the day 45th day, when I'm using the last drop of the oil, and you can take any food, or it's applicable to anything, am I getting the same experience which I got on day one? Day one, which I got that same experience. Am I getting that experience? And that is what today consumers are looking. So that's called as an in-use quality. So you see how quality has evolved in this value chain. Manufacturing to a consumer quality to an in-use quality. And what does your consumer buy? Okay? A consumer does not buy your product or your services. He buys your process variability. In his mind, he is very clear. He has defined the process variability in his mind. And what is the process variability? He thinks, I need to get my product or services within the acceptable band which he has defined. And if you want to ensure the process variability, I think quality has to be across that value chain, and that is from farm to fork. So right from your vendors, suppliers who supply the raw material to a packaging material, you should have the right processes in place. After that, it comes to the manufacturing plant where they accept the material. Okay. And when they accept the material, they should have, again, the right systems and processes in place. And I think most important for the manufacturing plant is to ensure the food safety, ensure that nothing goes wrong in the value chain. And I'm proud to say that we at Marico has evolved. We also have this FSS 22000, we have customized our own food safety checklist, but we have added one more thing in this, is called as a reputation risk. A reputation quotient comes when we assess, when we do the audit or when we check our systems and processes, a reputation risk comes. Now why reputation risk is important? Because from a brand perspective, as for the consumers, if anything goes wrong, the first impact is on your brand, on your reputation. So this reputation quotient is very important. You should have integrated into your process. And the next value chain is your distribution. You should have, again, the systems and processes across this distribution channel. So whether it is your depots or distributors, and the last channel is the retailers. I think I always believe that if you have the right processes, you will get the right results. And how the right processes can be measured? By the ADL approach. That is approach, deployment, learning, and integration, I think. If you integrate into the system, I think you will have a right food safety. Also, technology has now integrated into a system. I was reading one article that day that in terms of an X-ray, now you can use artificial intelligence, you can detect, you can predict. Today, I can see a movement has happened from a reactive to predictive. Can you predict something which can go wrong in your ingredients, in your processes, on your systems? Because finally the consumer, he should get what I define as within the process variability which he has defined. So predictive is very important. And I think this is where the technology has evolved, and it is a need of the hour that we leverage this technology, we integrate, whether it is IoTs, whether it is artificial intelligence, into our processes to predict certain things which can go wrong in the system and deliver the right quality to the product. I think I always believe that quality is very important and it should be a key enabler for driving business growth. It should be a key driver for the enabling the business growth. And last but not least, I always have a strong belief that you can't do today's job with yesterday's method and be in business tomorrow. So we have to continuously evolve. And again, the value chain has to get evolved through systems and processes, leveraging technology.
Thank you. So my next question to you is, so being an industry person, do you really think we'll have to go from supplier-driven, industry-driven or quality-driven specifications to these supplier-driven specifications? Because mostly what happened, we as a manufacturer has to impose, have to emphasize that I need these are my specifications, and make sure you have to produce and you have to supply this particular ingredient. But going forward, I think this is the equal responsibility of both the sides. Not only the manufacturer or the innovator, but also the ingredient supplier. So going forward, the future of this quality should be the ingredient supplier driven and not the manufacturer or the innovator driven. So what do you think on that?
So Kavita, what I will say again, this is a cultural change which we have to bring in the system. And what is a culture? It's a mindset. I always believe that you can't impose something on anyone, okay, unless and until there is a culture of a food safety within whatever you talk, whether it is a supplier or a partner or your distributor. I think it's a mindset change, okay? The moment and mindset state will get evolved. The moment you bring the mindset change, and I always believe that quality has to be understood at the ground level, okay? The workman who is producing that ingredient or is adding something into the pulverizer, okay, he has to understand the value of the quality and he has to understand what his role is. I think the moment you start bringing that change at the ground level, the mindset change, definitely I think the responsibility will be joint responsibility. I always will not say, yes, it's right that you need to get a good material, but you have to partner your supplier or a vendor to get that good material. And I think the partnership will only happen not by only giving the specification, but making a mindset and a cultural change, because that will only sustain.
Extremely important and valid point. Thanks for raising this, sir. So linked to this, my next question to Rajesh. Rajesh, safety in functional foods. You want to elaborate on this?
Yeah. So first we'll put up on the why, we are talking about the functional food or the nutraceutical food supplements. See, we realized during the COVID, the only 8 to 10% people were taking the food supplements or the nutraceuticals. But the COVID has created a kind of conditions, कि, hey, you have to have those nutraceuticals to meet your body's minimal requirement of those nutraceuticals or the deficiency which you do have. So that is the first point I would like to say. कि now, and our food habit, the kind of food habit we do have, like our kids are fond of eating the prepared food instead of, the raw mangoes, they prefer to have mango fruity. Instead of having a fresh guava, they prefer to have the guava juice. So somewhere, and though we all know, somewhere where we are manufacturing those products, the nutritional the values are getting changed. We are losing something when we are preparing from the fresh fruits to the finished products. And that is where the nutraceuticals come in between. So if you are losing, if you are not taking in the wholesome form, you have to have in the different form. So that could be a form of nutraceutical you have to keep. When it comes to the safety of the nutraceutical, yes. So see, not only the volume or the production capacity we have improved during this, the years post-COVID, that at the same time, we learn how to improve the safety of those nutraceuticals or the food supplement which we are manufacturing. Even regulators have also created a different set of regulation to monitor those all the nutraceutical food, which in turn will improve the safety. So earlier, if you'll see, people are, due to absence of the regulation with respect to the food supplement or the nutraceutical, everyone is, moving those names or the product in their own fashion, which is now changed, and they are aligning their, the product name or the kind of claims with respect to the regulatory requirements. So I think that will help to have the safer food than what, safer nutraceutical or the functional food, which do have currently. Further, it will help to improve the current standard, I can say. Yeah.
Thanks. So linked to this, next question to Jagdish. Jagdish, you have heard all our panel members. So everything is linked with quality, safety, efficacy, because this is not the normal category of food. These are all specialized category of food with certain health claims, which is substantiated with certain clinically proven data. So definitely it will be expensive. Okay. So till today, this is considered as a niche market. This is not a market, this is under-penetrated actually. It is still like upper middle class or the rich category so-called. Those people only can afford this kind of medications or this kind of supplements. Even normal trend also, if you can see in the market, normal 200 gram to 400 gram protein, simple protein powder can or jar, it costing more than 500 to 1,000 rupees. So how to make this category cost effective for the consumer? So would you like to say something on it?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, all distinguished speakers and delegates. I want to just twist the question whether this is really required, because whenever you talk about the functional food, you talk about the nutraceutical, dietary supplement. We say functional food, which is having some, along with the nutrition and energy, it should provide some physiological effect also, which may have preventive diseases. We call nutraceutical. The problem comes when the ceutics add. When we told ceutics, it means it should be having some therapeutic value. We will say, yes, curcumin, your lutein, your bacopa. Yeah, these all our ancient, from the age we are using this material. These are beneficial, these are proven, and these are having excellent track record. But the moment we just want to add in a nutraceutical, then again we have to substantiate with number of health claims, whether it is required, whether you are having safety study, you have to do animal study, you have to do these kind of all kind of clinical trial. Then only after that is substantiated, then only we can call it a nutraceutical. So are we not forget our traditional culture, or the urbanization may lead to we are having a culture of both husband wife are working, they are more and more dependent, and we are not thinking about what is if food is needed. See, let us talk about if we talk about Ayurveda, it is a holistic, and the ancient time we are using number of ingredient. We do not know. We are taking curd, it is a fermented product which is having some effect. We are taking some of the fermented products, soybean products, which are having tremendous ceutical benefit. But once it's come for the nutraceutical, then we have to think about the regulator also. Second, we are talking about all the RDA value and the ceutics effect, whether my consumer is aware. We are putting some value that it is having that much RDA value, per day intake is there. So how many population? If you are talking about the educated people, yes, we are from the educated background, we do understand that this is a requirement. Okay, are we calculating that, okay, one ball of sugar, one ball of dal will give that kind of protein, or one ball of rice is going to provide that kind of energy? So my opinion is we should switch to first the balanced diet. Even the Ayurveda, they say we are going to give the medicine. It is a very traditional approach, but if your food is not holistic, your medicine is not going to work. So first and foremost is we have to have a balanced food in our system. We are having a tradition, as Mr. Puneet also mentioned, Dadi maa ke nukse, Nani maa ke nukse. We are having these kind of things. Second, yes, when it comes for nutraceutical, fortification and these kind of things, which are very less expensive, it is not even adding, if you fortify some other product, it's not even adding some in 1 or 2 paisa in your per kg product. So these things we can think of. And yes, first and foremost is please focus on your balanced food diet rather than more than preventive is obviously the preventive approach we need to follow. Thank you.
Thanks, Jagdish. So next, I wanted to open this question to you all. Whoever wants to answer, please feel free. So what do you think as a challenge and real concern in today's world for this particular industry? Yeah, open to all.
Okay, I'll start with the challenges. We got some study that Indians are 18%, 20% are anemic. Okay, we'll start about, okay, just put iron in your, whatever the best possible product. Then all of a sudden, one new research published, okay, now vitamin D, most of the people, because as per our lifestyle, as per urbanization, we are having a vitamin D deficiency. Then they will advise some of the supplement because vitamin D, it cannot be like in a number of supplements can be given, you have to give some nutraceutical supplements. Then they'll come for, okay, calcium intake is low, it is bioavailability is low. So we have some challenges. These are the few challenges which we need to address. Our ancient research, we need to verify, we need to re-verify, we need to scientifically prove. And these are some challenges we have to do. So obviously, some study in order to move it, get the regulatory framework, and regulator need to be a bit user-friendly because it is not only for industry. If you consider how many packaged food is there, 7 to 8% of the total business. Rest 93% is your open food only. So how we are going to more and more awareness to the people, okay, do not say that, okay, that much iron is required. You just have this holistic food, the seasonal food, and just make it your regular consumption. That would be helpful in just addressing those challenges.
One point I would like to add here is that the issue industry or the users are facing is overdose of information. Basically, there are a lot of channels from where information is flowing to the users, maybe social media or Google or through word of mouth or through scientists, through dietitians. So there is an overload of information which does not allow the user to make a proper or a judicious choice. So that is something which needs to be looked at. And second, as I said that in India, the industry is still in a nascent stage. So the regulatory framework is developing. So for the manufacturer, there are some things where there is still lack of clarity. So those things, as the industry is developing, things are coming up. FSSAI is also changing the things. So that is second issue which needs to be addressed.
Kavita, I will put challenges in a QA perspective. I think very important, are we geared up in identifying the blind spots in the system? I think that's very, very important because that can derail your business, okay? If something goes wrong, either in your product, so I think biggest challenge is identifying the blind spot at the right stage and not be a reactive. I think that's the first challenge. And the second is, Kavita, you talked about the startups. Many of the startups are starting up, coming into a lot of food products. I think the biggest challenge in that is, I think, go to the market. How quickly I can launch the product and also ensure that my quality remains within the process variability, what consumer has defined. I think if they can balance the time and the quality, and it is very important. We can't now have a product which will take 9 months, 12 months, 15 months to go to the market because consumer needs are ever changing and they want the faster, better and cheaper product in the market. And I think that's the second challenge, balancing something which I call as cost, quality and speed. And that's a bigger challenge.
What I can see as a challenge to this business, not only limited to this functional food, but entire this, the Pvt.Ltd, food supplement, the research and development. Why so? See, there are a lot of challenges coming into the, requirement coming into the market. But when it comes to the, the preparing a product, putting into the market, see, if you go for the any research, it take 2 years, 3 years time to come up with a unique product into the market which of the consumer requirement. So what we need to have, maybe the kind of research we can give a solution within 5-6 months or 8 months instead of giving a 2 years or 3 years to have a product on the table.
Speed to market.
Yeah. So that I see a challenge. As a country need to develop the more R&D, more research centers, which in turn help us to meet the current, the market requirement, to give us the those validation in 5-6 month time instead of giving into the 2-3 years. That I can see as a challenge still we do have in India. Yeah.
See, on the quality matters, the whole FSSAI and regulations is usually totally depend upon the manufacturers, those who have been manufacturing the things. But manufacturers has to get the material from the agriculture. If you talk about the food, it is going to be agriculture. So what is the control mechanism we are having at the agriculture is yet to be defined by our government of India. That is a major part where these quality sectors, as you rightly, when you have been mentioning that about heavy metals and other things, it is not because of the manufacturers. It is because of the source which is we have been getting it out. And for example, you are told about the WPA or things. These are all, the source is cow. The cow's feeding is going to be from the agriculture. So our major challenge is what is going to happen is it's not the manufacturer where the quality has to be sustainable. There is no doubt on that. But the source has to have some control mechanism where it has to be streamlined. This is one. The second is, as you told about the cost. Cost is depend upon what the person needs. If suppose I want a turmeric to use in my kitchen, this is going to be a less cost. But at the same time, if I want to be a turmeric, then it is going to be a very bioactive, it is going to be a very costly factors. So these are the marketable things where it has its own values. So that has to be taken care, and manufacturing costs can be reduced by making all the operational issues can be solved and other things. But the sources where it has to be make some control mechanism either in the cost also as well as in the cost, quality also. These are the biggest challenges which I want.
Yeah, Kavita, I'll just add to what Sir has said, and I'll just add
Sure.
one perspective. I think Sir rightly said is the source. I think today most of the organization feel who are their customers or who are the consumers, that we all. But I think the shift has to be that the prime customer is the Mother Earth. And that's the Mother Earth. And if the company start doing something for the Mother Earth, okay, and we can do a lot of them, whether the pollution, soil pollution, water pollution. I think the Mother Earth gives back, and this is what Sir was telling. Okay, heavy metals, pesticides, where does it come from? It comes from this. So we are responsible for that. Companies are responsible for that. We all are responsible for that. So if we start, we ensure that we don't put everything, basically the garbage in all this, and we ensure that we treat Mother Earth as our prime customer, I think things will be different.
Yes, I agree on that point. But one more thing is we have to have that the manufacturers have been tightened by the Pollution Control Board also. Every point they have been making it out. Okay, fine. It was improving so much. Maybe 15 years before it was very liberal, but nowadays it is becoming stricter. But the things are, as you rightly said, what we are going to give to the nature, it is going to give back to back. There is no doubt on that.
Absolutely. Okay.
I have one point here. See, rightly said we are having the various regulation for the manufacturer. But when it comes to the farmers, you just think, there is no regulation, there is no standards for those farmers. They are using, the fertilizer at their own mindset. They are not doing any soil testing to understand what is the need of my soil to give a crop. They are putting up as per their own wish. If I need to put, the 200 kg in the acre, I have to use urea in a quantity of 200 kg in an acre. They don't, the thought of, hey, if I'll test my soil, it's already having the nitrogen. So why I'm putting excess amount of urea? Because they don't know. So somewhere we need to have two thought to improve the current, the crop heavy metals or the pesticide residue related requirement. That is through the awareness. And the second thing, I don't know whether it's possible or not, to create certain regulation. Though the regulation when it comes to, though there is no regulation with respect to the farmers, what you need to aid, what you don't need to, or where you have to stop using the fertilizers, or even the oxytocin which we are giving to our cows or the buffaloes for getting the milk. So somewhere we need to think as a society how we can change those mindset of our farmers to become, the educated and think about what they are producing. Are they giving the right things to the consumer or for their own babies or their own children? Yeah.
Hopefully we have a regulator's representative or agriculturist here and they'll take these messages to the policyholders. Okay, so thank you all. I think these are all valid point, concerns and challenges we have been raised here today. So to summarize this, before we conclude this session and before we go for our Q&A session, I think the key growth drivers for this particular industry could be the managing your product life cycle portfolio wisely with all financial due diligence, right time. Next is assessing risk across all your value chain. Next is build your research collaboration with more and more academics, experts, regulators, structures and incentivize your marketing teams. I think that is most important because that creation of awareness in a right way is very, very important. And mergers, acquisitions and including lot of financial risk, of course. So I think that is needed and that is the most important thing to have the growth in a faster, like everyone is keep mentioning about speed to market. So everywhere there is something, some obstacle in the form of regulation or in the form of infrastructure, in the form of contamination or contaminants, quality-wise, something is there, okay? So how to remove these roadblocks and how to achieve, how to have that speed to market. Otherwise, this industry again ends up with the same, like the pharma will take 3 to 4 years for a single innovation. And we are here to discuss exactly and to find out what could be the solution. So I think today through this panel session, we have got some insights to this particular audience. And with this note, I am just concluding this panel talk. So thank you each one of you. Thanks for all your valuable inputs. So now we can go for Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kavita ji. And we have time with us, sufficient time, so we can take more than a couple of questions. So first, I would like to open the floor for question and answers. So any question? Would request the person asking the question to kindly introduce himself, his or herself, and the name of the organization and the question directed to the particular panel member. Any questions? Yeah, so we have one question.
My name is Anindu Bosch. I'm from Goyal. My question is, this nutraceutical product, how we are convincing the doctors, how they are accepting this product and they are prescribing this product to the doctors, and what challenges we are facing as an industry to convince the doctor.
Sir, any particular panel member to whom the question is? To all the panels. So I think Kavita ji, in that case, you can decide which panel member should take it.
I think we don't have the right expertise, medical doctor in this particular panel, but offline maybe we can discuss.
Sure, sure. Any further questions? All right. So thank you so much, honorable panel members. A big round of applause for the entire panel. And a very, very interesting topic, functional foods, benefits, concerns and challenges. I would now, before I bid adieu to the panel, I would now like to call on stage Mr. Shubhendu Kumar Brahma, AGM Business Development from Synergia Lifesciences, now part of Novozymes, to kindly do the honors of felicitating this wonderful panel of experts here. Welcome, Shubhendu ji. Would request the panel members for a quick photo with. Can we have a big round of applause for the panel? Dr. R. Manickavasagam, Rajesh Gupta, Shailesh, Ghodekar, Ms. Kavita, Jadhav, Puneet, Goyal and Jagdish, Pant. Thank you so much, panel members, for giving your valuable time and enriching us with this wonderful panel session today, which marks the final panel session of day one of the proceedings.